If we can go ahead and bring this meeting to order. We're waiting for someone else to get going. 1 second.
You can go ahead.
If we can start with the invocation from our city manager, Andrew Pasmont, and then the Pledge of Allegiance will be from Mayor Pro Tem Sherry Lane. Andy, please rise.
Heavenly Father, holy and righteous, we thank you for all your wonderful creations. We thank you for being a God of love and mercy. We ask that you grant our council the wisdom to lead and make the difficult decisions needed to guide this community. Fill our minds with the accurate knowledge of your will so we may walk and act worthily in your sight, pleasing you in all that we do. Forgive us when we fall short of your expectations, and may heaven and earth always declare your honor and glory forever. Amen.
Amen. If you please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Chairman Tui,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chairman Lane,
Here.
Councilmember Commissioner Herford,
Here.
Councilmember Commissioner Sanderson,
Here.
Councilmember Commissioner Sykes.
Councilmember Sykes notified us he will not be with us today due to another engagement. We drop down to report out of closed sessions. Mr. City Attorney, Scott?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the City Council and the Redevelopment Agency met in closed session. There were 4 items discussed. The first 2 will take it together. Basically, they were a conference with labor negotiators regarding several employee organizations and also the unrepresented management employees. The Finance Director gave a report on the status of anticipated negotiations, and there was no reportable action taken on either of those items. There was also one case, Guadalupe Linhart versus City of West Covina. You met with legal counsel on that matter, and legal counsel advised you regarding potential settlement, and there was no settlement reached, and there's no reportable action on that item. There was also a matter of conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation. You received a report from the city attorney on that item, and there was no reportable action taken, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Changes to the agenda, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, I have 2 items, one pertaining to item number 6. Before you, there is revised financial report showing some corrections on that. And item number 8, there are also some corrections to the RDA payment schedule that have been circulated to you as well.
Thank you. We'll drop down to presentations. Is it on? If we can have Police Chief Frank Wills come down, Chief, and if we can also have Police Commander Dan Brooks, please come forward. You want to start?
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a privilege tonight to recognize retiring Commander Dan Brooks, who retired a few weeks ago, actually. We're honoring him tonight after 31 years of service to the city of West Covina. Magnificent human being, a wonderful police executive. He's done it all with the department. He's been a hostage negotiator. He's been a member of our SWAT team. 2 years ago, we asked him to accept the job of police commander. And the way our city salary structure is, you actually lose you lose money the first year and a half you're a commander after you get promoted from lieutenant. It's just the way we're organized here. And he did that, plus got no overtime, plus had to work 7 days a week. Pretty sweet deal. But he did that because he cares so much about the city. For many decades, he was very active in Faith Community Church right here in your town of West Covina. been involved in Bible study. And I remember when we had the retirement function over at the police department, we talked about sometimes it's a myth that as you come up through the ranks, if you speak your mind and argue at City Hall or argue with the chief or argue with command staff, you don't have a career. And Dan proved that wrong. Throughout my 13 years with the organization, he's one of those guys that was always fighting for the residents in this community. What's best for the residents and business owners in West Covina? And you think, well, you know, every public servant cares about residents, or at least they ought to, but it's a much more rare public servant that puts a career on the line in order to fight for the best interests of the community. This is a public servant that will be sorely missed by the city. Hand this over to the mayor for a few comments.
Yeah, Dan, we have a number of awards. First, a resolution of commendation to Commander Dan Brooks for your 31 years of service. Dan, I've known you for many years, both here and at Faith Community Church. You are a tremendous asset. You're a tremendous person, separate from being a police officer. I believe what you stand for and everything about you separates you from many people in society. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you. I know the entire City Council will miss you. So on behalf of the City of West Covina, the Mayor and the City Council, we'd like to give you this resolution of commendation presented to you today for 31 years of service. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Are you doing both of these ones, Chief? I'll let you do those. Okay. Now the most coveted thing in the city of West Covina, the famous tile. Dan, also a tile commemorating your 31 years of service. Once again, thank you very much for everything you did. I always make the joke when Dan's here. His wife, her dad was my baseball coach when we were little kids in Hacienda Heights. I've known their family for many years. Jim booed me till they took me out. Her brother made their dad take me out of the game. I was pitching so bad, but that's irrelevant. But once again, this is a famous towel, and I know not everyone gets one of these, and I know this will be placed in a garage or something in your home, so thank you very much, Dan. We have two more that the chief will present. A lot of hardware.
Don't read it. This is from the West Covina Police Department. Says a lot of nice things. And this is from the men and women of the West Covina Police Department to Commander Dan Brooks in recognition of 31 years of service. And Commander Brooks may want to introduce his family and say a few words. Dan?
Thank you. Thank you. There are a few things I want to say, but first let me introduce my family. My older daughter's not here with her family, but my younger daughter is Tricia, and her husband Paul, and my wife of 32 years, Mary, who is just a phenomenal woman and the best wife that I could possibly dream of having, and just a fantastic wife for a police officer. And so thank you very much, Mary, for everything. And there is a couple things I'd just like to address, both the City Staff Council and the citizens most particularly. We have 4 core values at the police department, and one of the core values is community first. And I just want to tell you, I know that most of you know this, but you don't know how good your police department really is. And the men and women of the police department, I've been involved with a lot of different organizations, both in civil service, church work, and some for-profit type organizations too. And the work ethic and the desire to serve the community, they understand that they're here to serve you folks, and I just couldn't be prouder to be a part of them. And so I thank them for letting me be part of the family, and thank the city council and everybody for all the good hard work you guys do. And it's been a great department and a great place to spend my last 31 years. So God bless you guys. I'll pray for you often. I'll pray for the men and women of the organization and for the citizens here often. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Some help with the hardware?
I think we got it. Okay.
If we now can have our longtime serving supervisor of the 5th District, Supervisor Mike Lantanovich, please come forward. This is a very sad day, but recently, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors redrew the district lines, which included the removal of Supervisor Antonovich as West Covina's representative to the Board of Supervisors. West Covina is now represented by County Supervisor Gloria Molina. Over the years, Supervisor Antonovich has secured funding for the city for our parks and other facilities. He has been instrumental in assisting the city in resolving issues with various county offices. You were a true asset to the city of West Covina, Mike. And another one of these tiles, I know you have many in your illustrious career that you served all over and done everything, but Mike, you're truly one of the true heroes on that Board of Supervisors. I've known you for many years, and you're a very personable person, too. And I great respects ever since I have served. You have been here, and you're by far will truly be missed in the city of West Covina. So thank you for all your years of service from 1991 to 2011. Mike, thank you very much. You want to say a few words?
Well, first, I just want to thank Sarah Flores and Jay Gomez and now Brian, who has been my deputy for the area, working with the council on a regular basis. And with our regular meetings we held each of those years, our breakfast meetings, working on the trails and other issues has been very positive. The reason we had to lose about 140,000 people because our area was overpopulated and Gloria's was underpopulated. And so there was shifting around, and I lost the city of Claremont and West Covina in that reapportionment. So it was due to the fact that we all have to have about an equal number population, even though our geography is a little different. The geography of my district, which was your district, is larger than the other four combined geographically, but population-wise, we're supposed to be around 2 million each. But it's been a pleasure to represent you. But as I said, we're only a phone call away. It's important that the San Gabriel Valley have a strong voice downtown because there are other areas on the west side of Los Angeles that like to gobble up our funds from transportation and others. But we want to continue to work with you on transportation issues and get a lot of programs from the Metrolink and the GO line completed in our lifetime. Now, we don't want to be looking down from Forest Lawn, Mount Sinai, or Rose Hills on that project. We want to be able to utilize it in our lifetime. But anyway, thank you, and God bless you, and thank each of you for serving with you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mike. If we can please have Donna Lee come forward, the Regional Public Affairs Manager with Southern California Edison. All right, we get to deposit something today.
Thank you, Mayor Tui, City Council, City Manager, City Staff, and audience. Donna Lee, Region Manager with Southern California Edison. And today I have the great honor of being here on behalf of the San Gabriel Valley Energy Wise Partnership, which is a collaboration between the City of West Covina, other San Gabriel Valley cities, San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, and Southern California Edison to promote energy efficiency projects. I have the honor of presenting you with 2 awards that were given to the city. Last December, we had an annual awards luncheon, and I'm very proud to recognize the City of West Covina for its achievements in energy efficiency. First, we have the Energy Savings Impact Award. This was provided to the city of West Covina for having a large project, a project over 500,000 kilowatt hour savings. And with this award, I'd like to recognize your achievement. This entitled the city actually to a municipal savings of over 1.1 million kilowatt hours, community savings of 91 million kilowatt hours. Also, because you were awarded as a large city and because you attained gold status in our energy leader program. And the second award I'd like to present you with is the Demand Response Award, which entitled you to meet certain milestones which help to provide energy efficiency as well as ensure that during times when we have high usage of power, that the city committed to reducing the power to those certain meters. So we want to thank you again and congratulations on that.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome. Now, in addition to that, for the award for the large city energy savings, we want to present you with the incentive check of $92,700.68. This is attributable to the City Council's leadership on energy efficiency, as well as city management and your leadership and city staff. I want to thank Andrew Pasmont, as well as Chris Freeland and Shannon Yahtzee for your commitment. This check, as well as your commitment on your energy action plan and putting in energy efficiency as one of the goals to meet all the projects, will really help to save the city and its constituents energy, save money, and save the environment. And I also would like to let you know of a little surprise, but the city has gone from gold level to platinum level. So congratulations. We're very happy. And without the hard work of City Council as well as city staff, this could not be achieved. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll give it to the
Betty?
city manager to cash.
Does that make us the first city out of the 111 cities, service cities that are covered for platinum?
Yes, West Covina is the first city to reach platinum level out of Edison's 200 cities.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Donna. If we can have Chris Freeland please come forward and introduce these winners for our Home for the Holidays Award recipients. We had a Christmas decorating contest, home decorating contest, and if you had the chance to go out there and see it, it was amazing. We had 4 busfuls of residents that also toured. Around 160 residents went on the tour, and it was just amazing to see all the different homes that were decorated. Can you go ahead and start?
What we're going to do is we had 20 different households participate this year, and so not all the households are going to be here, unfortunately, this evening, but we would like to call each of the participants forward. They have a certificate here from the City Council, and then we also are going to be announcing the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place winners tonight as well. And 3rd place gets a gift card to Target for $25, 2nd place a $50 gift card to Target, and then 1st place a $100 gift card to Target. So we got some nice little prizes, as well as the mayor said, we had a wonderful time going by and judging. So I want to make sure we give credit to Mayor Toohey, Mayor Pro Tem Lane, Councilwoman Sanderson for being part of the judging panel, as well as Senior Commissioner Sandra Taylor and Community Services Commissioner Steve Bennett. So we want to say thank you to each of them as well. But if I could, we'll go ahead and start with Gregory Esselin. Greg, are you here? Nope. How about Elsie and Victor Yara? Nope. We'll keep moving along. Victoria Thibodeau? Victoria, you here? Nope. No, the winners aren't here. How about Victor Gravala? Victor, are you here? I guess not. Jose Garcia. Hey, there we go. Come on down, Jose. Gil Velasquez? Gil, are you here? There we go. Margarita Olmedo? Margarita? Rafael Leticia Valle? Eric and Linda Lutz? Ann Michelson? Ann, are you here? Suzanne Young? How about Charlie and Cheryl Lurie? How about Danny and Carol Malcolm? Chris and Shannon Esquita? Roberto Reyes and Nelson Robles? How cute. William and Rosario Elliott? And before we announce this third, second, and first place winners, just want to remind folks that during the holidays, we did post the addresses of those participants that if you weren't able to make it on the tour with the buses, as the mayor mentioned, that the public was able to drive around the community and see the individual homes that were participants as well as the winners. And so saying that, we have a tie for third place. The first one goes to Dave Morrell. Dave, are you here? And how about Naomi Paul? Naomi? Nope. That's right. How about Jim Agostino? Jim got second place. And then our first place winner is Jay Lazo. Jay? I think Jay's whole neighborhood was all lit up for his lights.
If we can all come in together, and it was a great thing if you had a chance to go. Like I said, the tour buses were full out there, and hopefully we can take 6 or 7 buses next year. It was totally amazing. Can we go ahead and scrunch in? Two lanes. Actually makes me look skinny. And we'll start with our first speaker tonight. We'll give another minute for the people to exit. Dana, you'll be the first speaker. Dana Sykes will be speaking first, and Mario Del Fonte will be on deck. Dana?
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and the residents. My husband, of course, isn't here today. That's why I'm speaking. First of all, I believe it's number 10, the improvement at Amar and Azusa. If there is an intersection in the city that needs it more than that one, I don't know where it is. I have sat through a left turn lane through 4 lights trying to make a left turn to come home. That light is a monster, and it's been better since they changed the timing on the lights, but it still can, during rush hour, you can still be sitting there for 3 lights. Not fun. The other problem we need to address is at Temple and Amar. The left turn lane that turning southbound onto Temple off of Amar, that backs up during rush hour, both morning and night, and quite often there's near misses because the lane's either not large enough or the light's not long enough, and regardless, the wall right there at Temple and Amar is down. I have a feeling from people trying to hit the light when it's red. So that's another area that does need to be addressed. Of course, I didn't talk last Tuesday, but I was not happy with the, let's put it this way, I had a different decision on my mind than yours. It's sort of funny that we have an ordinance for adoption for that project today, and on the same one, we have a moratorium on development for another. Is this politics, or is this what's best for the residents? Because to me, you know, I don't know how long your moratorium is going to be, but we need, if we need money so badly, why are we stopping development? This sort of contradicts your other reasoning for approving taking away the green space. The other thing I'd like to address is at the end of the meeting, well, I respect to everybody having their different opinion, okay? But Mayor Tui, I'm not doing this to single you out, but you made a comment to a resident about him losing his business, and it was almost to the, you know, a pointed attack in my interpretation of it, and I felt it was uncalled for, and it was rude. I didn't care for it. And I felt badly for the gentleman because, especially since he's a West Covina resident, he had a West Covina business, and to me that wasn't very business friendly. So I feel you do owe the man an apology.
And Dana, I didn't mean it that way, Homer. I was a customer of his.
I realize that,
and,
but I know. But I'm just saying it did come off that way.
And I just wanted to make sure you know, because a lot of businesses are closing due to a lack of customers, and that's was my gist of what I was saying, that new development can bring in new opportunities, and I know that was what Homer was to us about, that he needed more opportunities, and that's all my point, whether or not that's how I meant it.
Well, like I say, it did come off that way, and I felt badly for the gentleman, and because I do know him as well.
He's a great operator.
And his food was great. And by the way, if you ever need a caterer and you want some good Southern cooking, he's the man to call.
He was also a legend in South Central LA, where he originally started.
Yes, his
no
food
question.
Was great. But I just wanted to let you know, to me it came off badly.
No problem. I'm very sorry about that, Dana. I was not meaning. Mario Del Fonte and Irene Fleck on deck. Mario.
Keep this short. I just want to thank you guys for the City Council and staff for what they do for the city. But there are some things that we don't agree on together, and I'm getting too old to stay here and make a long speech, so I'm just going to say I'm opposed to this ordinance to approve the ordinance change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mario. Irene Fleck and Beverly on deck. Irene.
Good evening. I'm going to mix business with pleasure. First, I'm going to do the thing I like to do most, and the library continues on. But there's a special program I wanted you to know about. It's Canine Companions for Independence. And we're going to have, this coming Saturday at 2 o'clock, and we're going to have, the canines will be our guests. But I also wanted to mention that I had talked to a person who had a dog in the community here, and it turns out that he's her service dog for diabetes. So they aren't just, for all the things that we've heard about. They are trained to do all sorts of special things. So I brought a flyer for you to look at and consider coming, and other people too. And then I have some concerns, as you probably are aware. The first one is about the city general plan. The State Office of Planning and Research in Sacramento requires that each city have a general plan that has had participation by all the community. And we indeed do have a general plan, and we had lots of people a part of that in early days. When you make changes and amendments, also we're supposed to have community input. And legally, we had community input because of a little notification in the newspaper that I never did find, and also we sent letters to people within 300 feet. That also is a state of California law. But that included Kmart, and they don't care. It also included about 42 residents. 42 is not enough when we've got a change that affects 110,000 people. So I really feel that if we have anything else like this, that you should have the ethic compelling, that's not a word, but that's all right, to make sure that the community knows what's going on. The other thing is relocation of this project. It was so frequently addressed, and I still don't know why we can't relocate it. The website for the city of West Covina has lots of property for sale. West Covina owns a lot of property they have for sale. They even have redevelopment property that they own that's for sale. And the income would be the same. And then the other thing I'm going to mention, something is very special about this little spot. I guess we're spot zoning, this little spot that's 2/3 of an acre. It's not the economic disaster that we're in, and it's certainly not medical needs. It's not the trees, and it's not the seniors. It's not all these other things. There's something about this program, and I don't know what it is, but it's been pushed, and it's been hushed, and it's been rushed, and it seems there's something very, very wrong about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Irene. Beverly's next. And Gregory is on deck.
My name is Beverly Bolthus, and I've stood here before, and I really hope you guys do not go ahead with the ordinance signing for 1101 on the city property over here, and therefore just drop that whole thing of selling the land and building a building, a medical building there. I hope you do not do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. Gregory? And Carolyn Arndt. Carolyn is on deck.
Mr. Mayor, honorable council members, Gregory Weiler, 2603 Main Street. I'm here on behalf of South Hills Homes Partnership. Agenda item 15, I've been told you're not going to have a public hearing on that, so I'd like to address my client's concerns right now. Unfortunately, we're not really feeling like you're the most business-friendly city in Los Angeles County. And the reason being, at the outset, unpleasantly, I delivered to you correspondence submitting that a couple of the council members, Councilmember Herford and Mayor Toohey, would be conflicted out voting on this emergency moratorium on development of the South Hills Homes 74 lots for reasons of proximity to either your own property or property of business associates. So I have submitted that to the city clerk for your consideration, and we would take the position that a vote on the agenda item 15 would be violative of the Political Reform Act, and of course that's a matter for your own determination. Secondly, and of equal importance, I've sent 2 pieces of correspondence to the city, and I've called the city attorney a couple of times, haven't spoken with the city attorney. But before an urgency ordinance can be adopted, there has to be a demonstration of an immediate threat to the health and safety. Now, these lots have been sitting around for a long time. Our clients have owned them for decades. They've been improved with millions of dollars of infrastructure for over a decade. Bonded improvements, wet and dry utilities, streets, everything you can do for a lot except for having vertical construction has been done. They've been around for a long time, and just because a prospective buyer of some of the lots to my client called the city staff has now called for a urgency or moratorium. Now, I've asked them to tell us what the immediate threat to the public health and safety is, and it's not only words. There's got to be findings, facts in the record, and I have not received a response. I was dismayed to see that it was still on the agenda. We're willing to talk, and so is the major public company who's interested in actually spending some money in the city. But we have not heard anything, and it's on the agenda for tonight. I would submit that it can't be lawfully adopted. I look at the staff report, and even after my letter, they don't even try to justify the immediate threat. They say they ask for time, whether current standards can be met, whether there should be some type of requirement, whether there should be zoning standards, whether. A lot of inquiries. It sounds like the staff would like to do some investigation, and we would welcome that through the normal planning process. But you can't come in without a public hearing and adopt this unless you meet the standards of the planning law. The planning law discourages emergency moratoriums. Like, none of us would want to have our property with a moratorium slapped on without public hearing. Certainly our client doesn't. I'd like to... Again, our client spent millions of dollars in these lots. As I set forth in my letter, I think we have vested development rights, and I think the ordinance would be subject to challenge not only for the lack of the appropriate and mandatory findings, but also it could be a takings of our client's property. Normally, that only occurs with vertical construction, but I've never seen, in my 31 years of doing this, I've never seen more money and more improvements to lots where a city would want to come on and just stop any development. We're also really amazed that with this status of the economy, that the city wouldn't want the over $1 million in annual tax increment that would come from development of these lots. Over $4 million in fees would be paid to the city. Over $1 million in school fees. And hundreds and hundreds of jobs for subcontractors, material men, real estate brokers, bankers, you name it. The trickle effect and the multiplier effect from the development of these lots is incredible. And notwithstanding the legalities which we urge on you, we're just amazed politically and economically and for the welfare of the community that in this economy we would want to stop that. We have a major home builder who wants to come in and buy some of these lots, very well respected. Most of you would know this company, and we don't want to discourage that, especially in light of the fact you just justified the approval of the other office building that I don't know anything about on the grounds that the city needs this economically. It's incomprehensible to us, but we understand the staff wants to study this project. We would urge the staff to do it through the normal planning process rather than what we think is an illegal moratorium. So for us, it's kind of the little shop of horrors. We feel we've got interested council members that are ready to vote on this, we hope that doesn't occur, and we've got an unjustified moratorium. And we'd urge on you, it's just not about the power to do something. You have the power to do it, but it's really the rule of law and doing the right thing. So I really ask, if you haven't already done so, consult with the city attorney, not attempt some kind of post hoc justification to try to come up with some ginned up health and safety issues.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, Speaker, see you there 5 minutes.
I understand.
Thank you. If I indulge me for 30 more seconds. The post hoc justification, I hope you don't do it. If it comes up at the council hearing on 15 and I don't have a chance to address it, it'll affect my client's due process rights, and I think that would exacerbate the problem. So I'd urge you to reject the proposed urgency ordinance and view kindly my correspondence urging you to not take that action. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions directly to you, Greg. I just wanted to...
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question.
Go ahead. Greg?
Mr. Weiler, you provided me with a map with 2 darkened properties. Are they owned by South Hills Properties?
Yes, Council Members Herford, those are owned. I think I attached, or it should have been there, proof of the ownership also.
Okay.
And my only question is, I agree it's a credible company. I'm not arguing at that point, just so you know, some of the issues that you raised, at least in his issue, mine's a very unique issue that you're raising. I believe the court has already ruled on behalf of Planning Commissioner Carlos Thrasher that he was factually innocent and mischarged, and they had to throw everything out based on a similar argument that your same partnership made against Planning Commissioner and Chief Warrant Officer Thrasher. around 3-4 years ago, he was tried in court and found factually innocent. That you couldn't argue that way. I understand your thing. You just served us today. So based on us just getting served, and you're arguing that someone I work for lives or bought a home, but it's not owned by that partnership. I understand you're arguing something third hand. Someone owning is a conflict for me, even though it is not in those lots. So I mean, it's a very unique rule of law you're arguing. So we're waiting for a ruling from our attorney. Obviously, it will be held off right now, but it is something very unique. In general, I will support, in general, once some of the issues I think that are out there are resolved, and I know Shea Holmes has contacted me, and I know that is who you're talking with, I believe, at this point in time. And I have talked to them, and I think they probably told you that. So I've communicated quite squarely.
Were meant to any of, I mean, these conflicts of interest come up, and there's no aspersions meant to anybody's integrity or anything
Well, I
else.
can't meet with them now based on your same argument. I'm not sure if we're going to have a quorum who can even vote on it. So based on your argument.
Understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn Arndt and Phil Marino next.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Arndt. I have lived in West Covina since 1957, and you have not seen me up here prior to wanting to sell off public lands in our civic center. I would like to begin by thanking the staff. I sent 2 letters. I asked for a lot of things from you, and you very graciously responded. I struggled through them and decided, I'd rather read a library book. And so I quit. I read in the paper this week there is a possibility that you would like to get rid of all of the commissioners because it's money. I don't for one moment believe it has anything at all to do with money. I think when the Planning Commission told you, no, we don't think that's a good idea, and they came before you and publicly told you in front of all of us who own a part of that land that it was a bad idea, I think that's humiliating to you. And so you are going to toss all of the input from the citizens out. That only fuels my fire, let me tell you. And so at this moment, I have something to read to you. It's a notice of intention to circulate a recall petition. To the Honorable Shelley Sanderson, I know that you voted no, but if they had needed your vote, you would have voted yes. And you've been here 11 years. You are part of the problem. You are not a part of the solution. Continuing on, pursuant to Section 11020, California Election Codes, the undersigned registered qualified voters of the city of West Covina in the state of California hereby give notice that we, the proponents of a recall petition, and that we intend to seek your recall and remove from the office of the city council member in West Covina, California, and to demand election of a successor to that office. The grounds for the recall are as follows. The city of West Covina has a multi-million-dollar deficit and faces insolvency. The City Council, over the past decade, made a succession of poor financial decisions that rendered the city so insolvent that some members sold a precious portion of the Civic Center to a private party without public competitive bid. The West Covina City Council has made short-sighted and destructive financial decisions harming the city of West Covina. The council has sold valuable city assets to satisfy continuing expenses instead of properly managing the city's finances. This includes selling the city water company, Shakespeare Park, and the attempted sale of Shadow Oak Park. The City Council misused redevelopment agency funds to support ill-advised spending, resulting in the city having to pay back millions of dollars in loans and bonds. We charge that the City Council, with deliberately spending more money than they take in during so many years, that they have grossly depleted the city's monetary reserves while selling irreplaceable assets. The printed names and signatures and residence addresses of the proponents are as follows. I have a copy for each of you. There is one for Shelley Sanderson, one for Michael Toohey, and one for Sherry Lane. I think they received these, correct? Did they receive these from you? Those are copies. I have the originals. Who do I turn those into? Do I turn them in tonight?
You should keep a copy for yourself.
I keep the copies, I
Yeah.
give them the originals?
Correct.
Okay, I'll take those back. I'll trade.
And the speaker has exceeded her 5 minutes.
I'm done.
Let her finish. It's okay, Carolyn.
I was going to read a quote. I'll hold it.
Thank you, Carolyn. Philip Marino is a council member. Sanderson.
I wanted to get clarification, Mr. City Attorney. There was a comment made in reference to getting rid of the Planning Commission. That is not something we are legally allowed to do, nor are we doing. Can you please comment on that first?
Yes, the Planning Commission is a body that's set forth under state law. There is one provision in state law that would allow the council to serve at the Planning Commission, but I only know in the last 30 years of 2 cities that have done that, and it doesn't work very well. The Planning Commission, as established by state law, is the system that is used by the vast majority of cities.
Any other questions? Philip Marino is next, and Joanne Wilner is on deck. Bill?
Who's on deck?
Joanne Wilner.
Members of the City Council, staff, members of the audience. The citizens of West Covina have lost financial control of their city. The taxpayers of West Covina have lost control. The city of West Covina has not had a balanced budget in the last 4 years. The city used to have a reserve fund of over $45 million, but in the last 4 years, the City Council has been spending that reserve fund to balance their budget. In other words, they have failed to cut spending. At the last City Council meeting, Council Member Steve Herford stated that he was voting to approve the medical building at our Civic Center because it was, quote, his fiduciary responsibility to do so in the interest of running the city. I'd like to inform Council Member Steve Herford that it is the fiduciary responsibility of the present City Council to cut their benefits. I called City Hall and was told that the City of West Covina does have part-time employees, but that those employees are not entitled to any benefits. Being a City Council member is not a full-time job, yet our City Council members have the benefits of a full-time employee. In the City of West Covina, there is not one citizen who has a part-time job that has the benefit package of a full-time employee. So why should the West Covina City Council members be any different? I demand that this council lead by example and start the process of balancing the city's budget by cutting many of their benefits. The benefit package given to City Council members should not be a secret. I need one City Council member to have the courage to make the following statement. I motion that all City Council members' benefit package be placed on the next City Council agenda to make adjustments to that benefit package as requested by the citizens of West Covina. And then I need one City Council member to have the courage to second that motion. The citizens can then see their City Council members' benefit package and tell council members which benefits are appropriate and which benefits should be eliminated. On the back of that statement are your benefits, and everybody has a copy. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Joanne Wilner and Dave Stewart on deck. Joanne?
Good evening. Joanne Wilner, I was going to say Joanne Wilner, Dave Stewart on deck. I did say it. Anyway, regarding item 2, ordinance for adoption of the zone change 11-1, I urge you to reconsider the change from public buildings to neighborhood commercial, and the Civic Center property should not be sold or used for anything but future public buildings. It is a city icon. You've heard the residents speak against it, and I just hope you will follow through as you have heard us all speak before, and only this time change your vote. I have some questions regarding other items. Why are the 150-plus acres owned by the CDC of the BKK properties there? I think it started out as several hundred acres that we acquired, and I thought it was acquired by the city. In other words, that the city owns the Big League Dreams, the golf course land, et cetera, et cetera. Some of it I know is sold, but why is it not city-owned? I thought we owned all of it. And all this talk here tonight, or it's going to be spoken of, regarding the loss of properties or the need to sell, et cetera, and I know we're all confused, and I'm very confused, even though I've spoken with staff as to what it is, but I still wondered, why is it not in the inventory of the city and not the other? And what is the source of funds for paying off that bonded indebtedness? Because for the construction of the Big League Dreams, the income from the Big League Dreams project, as I recall, was never projected to cover it. So in all this mishmash that's going on that needs to all be filtered out, I'd like to know what is it that really is the source of the funds for a number of our bond liabilities.
If you can get the list, Joanne, to city staff so they can answer you, because you're asking for more than one property. I know they can't necessarily do it 100% off the cuff. So if you can get with them and focus.
I had spoken, basically, the sum of the lands over at BKK, I think, is the 150 plus, and I thought that was all a part of one package when we acquired it, and it became rezoned into some other things other than recreation and open area, which is what I felt years ago when it was acquired that it all should be, but it was rezoned into some other things. But the part that is recreational purposes, namely the Big League Dreams and the golf course, and we own the land, I thought the we was West Covina City, not the resource, not the Community Redevelopment District. And that's where, and with the redevelopment district no longer an entity, I'm concerned over the financing of it and actually what's going to happen to it.
We'll try to answer that when we're done, what they can do right here. Dave Stewart is the speaker, and Colleen Rosati is on deck. Colleen?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. I got a couple things different to talk about tonight. Give you a little break here. I don't get up here too often, and I should have said a couple things before, but we were recognizing the police department tonight as being a great. I just want to commend our fire department. About 9 or 10 months ago, a eucalyptus tree fell down in Manzanita. Happened to be next door to my daughter's house. Went through the patio and the roof of the house next door, took all the lines down, the utility lines. The fire department was there. I live 5 blocks away. They were there before I got there. They took care of the whole problem, and the lines were on fire. They took care of the whole problem. I just want to commend them for a great job. The second thing is Vine Avenue was repaved with the effort of Mr. Yahtzee and Mr. Nichols, I'm sure. They, to my knowledge, they went all the way from Azusa Avenue to Vine Ave to Citrus in one day with the paving, and that's practically unheard of. It may not be quite that much, but I think they did most of it in one day. So I just want to commend them for a good job. Second thing is city staff. We had a problem in front of our house, sewer line, 5 by 20, hole they had put in the ground. The street was closed except for residents only. The staff went out of their way. The men that worked out there moved huge trucks, tractors, whatever it took. There was about 14 cars involved in the 4 houses. Not one person had to wait for in and out of their driveway in 2 days. It was amazing. Anyway, that's that. And now I want to talk to you about what's on the agenda tonight about the commissions. I know that the problem is the budget. I realize that. When I was appointed to the community services about 4 or 5 years ago, I was very surprised to find out there was even a stipend involved in the commission. I mean, I'm a 54-year resident. I waited till I retired to get on a commission or whatever it might be. And I was found that out. I mean, I was willing to do it for nothing because I'm giving something back to the city. So I think I speak with for most of the commissioners, but it's only me telling you this. I don't think anybody took their job for the stipend, and I don't think anybody would leave if they didn't have it. So I know that would help a bit to cover the $42,000. Now, the other thing is the allowances for the commissions. We do get an allowance, but basically on the Planning Commission, we only have one thing a year to use it for, and that's the League of California Cities. 2 years ago, I didn't use any of it because I felt it wasn't worth spending what it would cost to go to, I believe it was Monterey, so I just left mine alone. Last year was in Pasadena. I had them buy my entry, but everything else I pay for myself. But what I'm saying is we really don't need that because the League of California Cities, if you call them or use your computer, you can get exactly the same thing on your computer that you can get when you go. It's nice to go there, and it's nice to have the networking with the other people from other cities, but if we don't have the money, it's not really necessary. So what I'm saying is if you need the money off of those 2 things, that's a possibility as opposed to getting rid of the commissioners. I think you need the commissioners because I don't think it's nice just to have the planning commission only. The other people in town that want to, the residents that want to be on something, that it gives them a chance. Now, the other thing is, I think the senior citizens and the community service only meets every other month. And I know that you have something tonight about the senior citizens. I know it's during the day, so there's no extra staff involved as far as overtime. And I think they can move the community service up to a little bit earlier and probably not have overtime there either. But here's the thing about the Planning Commission. We meet the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month. And I would say in the last year we've had probably maybe six dark days. What we could probably do is start on the 2nd Thursday. We have a schedule, and then we plan the next meeting for a month from that. If we have some kind of an emergency, then we'd go for the 4th Thursday, but then the next meeting after that would be the 4th Thursday of the following month. We can knock them down by 3 or 4 meetings a year at least until we get finances back to warrant all these things to happen again. But in the meantime, that's my kind of plan for you. But I know you have your own thoughts too. But anyway, good luck. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dave. Colleen and Lloyd Johnson on deck.
Evening. Colleen Rosati, resident of West Covina for a lifetime, former planning commissioner, retired banker, branch manager for Wells Fargo. I came to last week's meeting. I hadn't been in a long time, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see the turnout. As a previous planning commissioner, I know how difficult some of these choices are to make. It's not easy. But what I always kept in mind as a planning commissioner, especially when I was chairman, I would take into consideration the fact that folks came out on a Tuesday night out of their homes and came to City Hall to give their opinion and to voice what they felt was important to them. The outcry from the residents that wanted to keep this property located at City Hall in the pristine condition that it is, I think was well overheard from the folks that were for it, or in opposition for it, I'm sorry. What I would like to just kind of touch on, I think it's going forward, just a suggestion. Part of the things that I would have liked to have heard was where the folks came from when they came up to speak. I know, and you guys know too, that often when a project comes before you, there are ringers in the audience, and I think this was even said, that they don't even live in the area. That would have been important to see. And I think when you really got down to the nitty-gritty of it, you would have found that the majority of the folks really were longtime residents. And they say that public speaking is something that people fear the most. They'd rather face death than speak in public. So for those folks to come up and take the opportunity to talk, I think was very admirable. I know that there is a zone change before you tonight, and I really wish that you would reconsider changing your minds on doing the project. That has been not, although it's not deemed historical, it is somewhat of a landmark in this city. It's pristine. It kind of welcomes you to West Covina. I was not an advocate for the billboards that now go along the freeway that Westfield has put on. I like the greenery. I like the look that you get when you come into West Covina, when you're coming down from Kellogg Hill or when you're leaving Baldwin Park. So I appeal to you as a lifetime resident, former planning commissioner, to not vote for the zone change and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Lloyd Johnson and Bruce Leinbach on deck. Lloyd?
Lloyd Johnson, a true resident and registered voter in West Covina for almost 40 years. Mayor Turi, council members, what a dog and pony show this council put on last Tuesday. First, I would like to say thank you to Councilmember Sanderson and Councilmember Sykes for standing up for the true residents and West Covina voters of West Covina and voting no on destroying our Civic Center. And not with those that were brought in to talk in favor of this project, which most of them weren't residents or registered voters of West Covina, no matter what was written on their cards, and I'm sure everyone knows that. The contractor was probably told to have a lot of people here so the 3 council members could try to justify the decision on destroying our beautiful Civic Center. Like I said last week, it's already been proven you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get elected to our council. All you need is the right message. Just look how much money Karen Armbruch spent, almost $80,000, and she lost to Councilmember Sykes, who spent around $13,000. He had the right message. Now, for me, the message will be, ever since Councilmember Lane has been on this council, she has never voted against any item when Councilmember Turi and Councilmember Herford were on the same side. There's no chance she would dare vote against them, because that takes true leadership, a skill she's proven she lacks. When she read her pre-written statement why she was voting the way she did with the misinformation she read, she already had her mind made up. She wasn't going to vote against Mayor Turi and Councilmember Herford. Like I said, that would take leadership. Saying the $700,000 for the sellout of our beautiful Civic Center and the little amount of $23,700 in taxes are going to save us from our problems is a laugh. It's also a laugh about the amount of jobs that will be created from this project. Each of you council members knows that those numbers just aren't true. Anything this council says will never change our minds. The bottom line is you sold us out. If this would have been in South Hills, you would have never approved it. That is the only place where open green space means anything to 3 members of this council. Any reply you say tonight will never justify what you did. You sold us out. This just proves that we still need more changes on our council. You know, and on a different matter, I would like to say is that the Martin Luther King celebration that was held here at City Hall Monday was what a great turnout they had. Too bad this city can't remember that without our veterans, there wouldn't be a celebration for Martin Luther King. I hope they remember the next time they think our veterans and the sacrifices they made aren't as important to celebrate their special day. And two things everyone should never forget. Freedom isn't free, and if you love your freedom, thank a vet.
Thank you. Thank you, Lloyd. Bruce and Forrest Wilkins on deck.
First of all, this came on. Long-time resident, I've been here since 1974. One thing I want to make a point about, all you know is Trojan Tire. And Trojan Tire, I don't know, about 10 years ago or whatever, they made a bid on a property, their current location, and they made a bid. It was owned by the city. And they had to bid through the redevelopment agency. So what they did, they put up the bid, everybody come forth, made a bid, and Gus, who everybody knows, he won the bid. But the point of this is what was for open bid. On this project here, it just seems like you've already made the predetermined, developed communication with the developer. Nobody else was made aware of it. It kind of bugged me when you drive down the sign, you see this big sign on the property. I mean, legally you can do that, but I just didn't think it was appropriate here. The owners of the property wasn't the council. It was the council. So I guess you're all citizens, but there's also all these residents, all these citizens. They're owners of the property. They were never informed that you're putting this property up for sale. You put the sign on there, and it's kind of like one speaker said, it was in the dark. So I think it's kind of like I don't know, like you were trying to keep it quiet. Then it come up all at once and everything went. You try to have a meeting to make a judgment on the thing about 5 days before Christmas. You changed your date or whatever. And but the bottom line is this. We're going to get about $25,000 a year more in taxes. This is a pittance. And this is land that we have. We're going to lose it. And it's not going to come back. And I don't know if any other cities around here are selling their green belt of their civic center to raise money. I mean, that's unheard of. And why do we have to do this? I guess feel this whole project, I basically feel the city council has had a closed mind on this. And like we're talking about the composition of the people who were for or against. Now, a lot of those people who said we should approve the project, I don't know how many of them were residents. I think a large portion of them weren't. But a lot of them weren't that involved in the city. Now, you take the people that were opposed to it. I mean, a lot of them have been real active, been longtime residents, citizens, involved in many activities, been served in different commissions, and they had a lot of they spoke from more of the heart, what it felt to them. And the other people kind of spoke because, well, this is what we've been told to say. I feel some people were being coaching literally on the speakers who were for it. So basically, I just feel like this. There's no way I feel this sounds logical to sell this piece of land, which we will not get back. And why we still have to be the only city in Southern California is selling off part of their civic center to raise $25,000 a year for taxes and things like that. I mean, it's just illogical. I mean, it almost feels like this thing has all been predetermined before. I mean, I just can't fathom why we're selling this property, and I urge you to reject it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. Forrest Wilkins and Dennis Chapetta next, and Armando Sanchez will be our last speaker. Go ahead, Forrest.
Forrest Wilkins, 39-year resident of West Covina, retired police officer of over 30 years. I'm very sensitive about guns. I have reviewed tonight's agenda, and I do not see any place that the council will be discussing the Evergreen contract with Athens Trash Service. For the third time, I would like to repeat that Athens' ID number was on that disgraceful hit piece sent out the Friday before the November election with a gun in an attempt to intimidate voters. In past council meetings, I pointed out that Athens has donated $50,230 in the last 2 city council elections. I shared with the council that I toured Athens' MRF facility, commented on the clean trucks and their overall clean operation. What I failed to recognize is they are also cleaning our pockets. For example, we in West Covina put 2 trash cans on our curbs, one black, one green. Covina residents put out 3 trash cans, one black, one green, one gray. In West Covina, 2 trash trucks pick up our trash. In Covina, 3 trash trucks pick up trash. An extra truck with extra labor costs in Covina. Covina residents pay $3 less per billing period. Then there is Redondo Beach. The Athens also services that community. They pay less than 1/2 of what West Covina residents pay for trash service. Now, going back to that PAC, Taxpayers for Safer Neighborhoods, ID number 1271053. The PAC received major funding from Athens. The treasurer, Barrett Garcia of San Juan Capistrano. The return address on the hit piece that went out comes back to Barrett's business address. Principal officer of that PAC, James Lacey, Laguna Niguel resident, according to the 410 form. You read Mr. Garcia and Mr. Lacey's bios, one might think they are pillars of their communities. 58 miles away from West Covina. However, they have no shame in using Athens' ID number to trash our city. I repeat, there is no place for a gun to be used in any political campaign in West Covina. As stated in a prior council meeting, Athens has their fingerprints all over this. Athens does not deserve an evergreen contract. I submit to this council, in writing, for staff to submit a report to the council to end the evergreen contract. I suggested 2 council meetings ago how Athens could start to apologize for their misbehavior. I understand a VP from Athens named Dennis, who lives in Pomona, has obtained my phone number, but I have yet to hear from him. Athens is no friend of West Covina residents when they clean our pockets and trash our city. It is time to end their evergreen contract.
Thank you, Forrest. We have Dennis Chapetta next, and Armando Sanchez is our last speaker. Armando, you're on deck, sir. And then we have one speaker on the public hearing, Joanne Wilner. Wherever Joanne, we still are going to go to that when we open up that item.
Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. I'm Dennis Chapetta, Executive Vice President of Athens Services. For the record, I don't have Forrest's number, but I'd like to obtain it this evening. I'm here tonight to give you a brief update on all of the great things that Athens is doing relative to the closure of Puente Hills Landfill in 2013. That's the largest landfill in the nation, taking in 13,200 tons of waste every day. You know, you can't just wait till 2013 and develop a plan. We've been planning for years to become a landfill avoidance company, taking as little trash as possible to landfill after 2013. We've expanded our MRF industry, and it is now state of the world in terms of landfill diversion and technology to contain odor. It's fully enclosed. We purchased a new company called American Organics in Victorville. It's a compost facility, and when Puente Hills closes, the yard waste will no longer count as diversion, so we'll be able to take it to our new facility out in Victorville. We can even add such things as organics and food waste, and again, take as little to landfill as possible. In Irwindale, we plan on building a major material recovery facility for added capacity. We currently have a food waste program with several restaurants in town in pilot phase. We're exploring anaerobic digestion. And just today there was a new bill passed, Assembly Bill 341, that's going to have major impact on all California cities. It's going to require mandatory recycling for commercial businesses. I'm happy to say that in the city of West Covina, because we process all the waste through the material recovery facility, there'll be no added cost to our businesses, and they won't have to go through the painstaking efforts of source separating materials, extra bins, and extra tons, extra trucks in town. Our service truly is exemplary in town, and our community service and involvement is even better. I gave the city clerk a description of all of the things that we do in town. Please visit our site soon and come and take a look at all the good things we're doing. Now on to a different kind of trash. You've heard the old adage, you can't see the forest for the trees? Well, I can certainly see Forrest Wilkins, and I can see him hiding behind the First Amendment. He continues to defame Athens, as he did this evening, by accusing us of distributing a flyer during the recent election. He also continues to make incorrect comments about our campaign contributions. Hey, every sitting member on this city council, here and not here, have accepted contributions from Athens. It's the American way. If it weren't for that, only the rich would be elected. Forrest met with our chief operating officer and Gary Clifford, and he told him we didn't have anything to do with that flyer. Forrest, please either stop these false allegations when you're insulting remarks, or show the public proof that we've done anything improper. We have not. Relative to the rates that he shared with you this evening, it's impossible to compare a 2-container system that's fully processed at a material recovery facility with a high diversion level to a 3-container system with a much lower level. The service that's given here in the city of West Covina is truly Rolls-Royce service. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Armando Sanchez is our last speaker for the day. And then we will go to answer the questions I believe Joanne Wilner had on the redevelopment property. Sorry about that, Armando.
Thank you, City Council, staff, and the residents of my city of West Covina. Thank you for coming out. Last week, I was not here, but I did listen online, me and my wife, and I was very indignant how there was people that were, the construction worker, I know he doesn't even live here. There was other people it was just kind of like sandbagged. And you guys heard the residents, and then here you got a moratorium on another lot closer to where some of you guys might live. And I find it appalling that we're going to spend this money, and it's only a Band-Aid. I'm in the medical field. I've been in the medical field for 32 years. I work at Kaiser Baldwin Park. I'm grateful for my job. I've been laid off. I know that construction worker that spoke. He's been out of work. I've been there. I've had to make ends meet. But the thing is, the hospital needs to be reformed. That hospital right there in West Covina, I would not service myself or my family. I would take them to inner community because I know a little bit about medicine. And if we can get that fixed, I'm sure we can attract more doctors and other healthcare professionals in some of the vacant office spaces that are not being utilized. And again, it starts from here, and then it works all the way to Capitol Hill. The people are waking up. Basically, the lobbying is corrupting the whole system of political way. We see it in Washington, and it trickles down to the city council. So I'm just encouraging all of the residents, even the city council and staff, keep an eye on it because it's corrupting us. And we have the power every November and every time in the spring to vote for those people to leave office because of, in a godly way, lobbying to me is bribes. God does not accept bribes. I'm not here to pitch my religion. I'm here to just pitch what he says is in the Bible, and that's bribes. He will not accept them, and we should not, as if we call ourselves to follow him. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Armando. That ends oral communications. Can staff answer some of the questions today with Joanne Wilner?
Tom, you want to try?
Yeah, as it relates to the ownership of the various properties up at BKK, the CDC originally purchased all those properties, and then as the site was developed, those properties have either been sold or transferred. Currently, right now, the commercial site was sold to the developer, which is now the Heights Shopping Center. The BLD site is now owned by the city. It was transferred to the city, for the development of that property. There was 2 other pads up towards the landfill site that were sold to a developer for future development. The CDC owns the remaining undeveloped properties up on the site, which include the the properties that were bought up towards the top deck of the site, as well as the AAA pad, which is at the corner right there. I believe it's John B. Way and Azusa. So that's the ownership of the property. As far as the repayment of the BLD bonds, that's paid for, it's scheduled to be paid for by tax increments generated from the site and from the redevelopment agency, as well as BLD franchise revenues, which they're currently generating, as well as BLD sales tax and BLD business license revenues.
Okay, and if we can get it in writing also, so Joanne has that. Is there any council member that has any response or questions? Councilmember Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just briefly wanted to make a comment. I think I had mentioned earlier about the Planning Commission, and we did get an answer on that. I always write everything down, what people say, and want to kind of just touch base on a few things. And I think just lastly, the last speaker saying that people are waking up. I'd just like to say sometimes people are being lied to. I think it's really sad that people get up here and assume how I feel, think, and what I care about. I do care about this entire community. We've done studies in the past that have stated that the monies allocated from this city by the council, by the staff on streets, parks, shopping centers have equally been distributed throughout the community. I just want to say from my seat, I care about every square inch of this town. This is our community, and I'm really, really tired of that, your town, my side, this, that. The whole community, we're working together. We need to work together. That's why we sit up here, is we want to make sure that we're working together and providing the best service for the residents. I think that it's sad. I hear it, and then I try and tell people, no, my husband and I grew up years, we lived off of Amar Zusa. We lived in Summer Place Village, where my husband grew up. It's a beautiful area with paseos, and you know, it just makes me sad, and I just felt like I needed to say something tonight because I just hope that we can move on, move forward. We have some huge budget deficits. Everybody can point fingers at us and the staff that we've mismanaged funds, et cetera, but like I said at the last meeting, other cities throughout the state are having huge problems. Like I said before, you can eliminate City Hall and every park in the city, and you're still going to have a budget problem because of your PERS and because your public safety is almost 90% of your budget. So I hope we can work together, and that's all I'm asking from the residents, is just that we need to work together. We were all up here elected, not just once, not twice, and Councilmember Herford many times. The community trusts us, and we're doing the best that we can. Maybe some people don't, but that I don't believe is a small margin, or I think it's a small margin because we are up here trying our very best, and I'm asking just that we need to work together. We've always tried to be here for the community. So all I'm saying is, please, let's work together.
Hey, Councilmember Herford.
Well, let me just first say, I know I'm left out, but it's coming in 2 months, so that's fine. I look forward to the challenge of a recall against me for the same reasons that these other 3 members are being served today. The word is sad. It's a sad day for West Covina. People blame their local government for issues that aren't caused by them. The state of California has taken our money year after year after year. This council has done a fantastic job to not install a utility tax or an assessment. We're the only state, the only city, I believe, in our size, and the chief of police, I think, can verify this, in the state of California that doesn't have a special assessment or a utility tax. And so go on out, collect the signatures, tell the truth to the people that we mismanaged their funds. But in reality, we're a low-tax city, and you can't deny that. We're a business-friendly city. We were awarded the most business-friendly. So the attacks, Mr. Leinbach says nobody sells off Civic Center land. If you drive over to Covina, they're building houses on their Civic Center. You know, we didn't propose that here, but that's the reality there. So, I mean, people do stuff in tough times, and West Covina's employees are probably going to be the ones that will suffer the most through this recession. We're going to have to lay off people in probably 2 meetings. None of us want to do that. It's not our fault. It's redevelopment being taken away from us. We have probably over 35 employees that draw a part of their salary or 100% of their salary from redevelopment. And that's the state of the California. That's Roger Hernandez. That's Ed Hernandez. That's Governor Davis. That's a lot of the people that people here support. And so, you know, it's great that we have public communications. I look forward to the input every week. But I can tell you that every speaker that spoke wasn't a supporter in the election, and I was just reelected with 3,600 votes, and I look forward to the challenge. So serve me in 2 months, please.
Any other council member or Mayor Pro Tem Sherry Lane? I'm sorry. And it's Governor Brown, sir. Not to
What did I
correct
say?
you.
Davis.
Governor Davis. That was like
sorry.
20 years ago.
He wasn't any better, so.
I think all of them we've had for a number of years equally on both sides.
You know, I just want to say, you know, this is really sad that we have to deal with all of this, and it comes down to this, because we're pretty much volunteers, and we give of our time, and we give of our efforts. We come here, we do all of this, we work hard. I have another job, people have jobs, we all work. And then we come here, we go to functions in the city, we try to show up. If people have issues, we try to listen and be fair. But when you have a very tough decision, sometimes it's not easy to make those decisions. Unfortunately, if people feel that way, then that's your right. It's a democracy, and you have that right to go do your job and see if you can, you know, garner the votes to replace us. It's unfortunate. I grew up here. I care about this community. I care about people, and I'm trying to do my best as a council member. And if you don't like it, then, you know, I guess that's the democratic way. So I'm sorry you don't care for that, but I work hard. I work hard for the city, and I work hard for the people, and I take it very seriously. So thank you.
Thank you. I concur with a lot of what my fellow council members said. First of all, to talk about the trash to start off with that Forrest brought up. We do have a different system that other cities don't all have. When you have the 3-can system, you can put all your what you consider recycling into a gray can, and that has to go down to a MRF and get sorted through, because you commingle all the stuff in that can, so it has to be sorted, that can by itself. Then when you have your mixed waste can, they have to sort that also, so you're sorting twice, and then the green waste is used for daily cover at Puente Hills Landfill, which closes down in 24 months. And by the way, the MRF system, if you want to see the new rail system being built, you can go over there at Peck Road. You'll see the brand new rail system, which is projected to be $80 a ton to take it out to the landfills in Brawley, the old Diamond landfill out there in Brawley by Glamis. That's where your trash will start going. And it's going to be phased in, but the cost is tremendous. That's why we worked early on, whether you agree or disagree with a MRF system, to sort all of our trash. So no matter what you dump, your black can is sorted through, and everything that is recyclable, even if you didn't consider it recyclable, is taken off out of that and sorted, and we only take to the landfill the residual waste. Now, not everyone understands that. Other cities do not do that system. We also have one of the highest diversion rates around, and that means less of our trash actually goes to the landfill. And we were mandated by law. We met our diversion goals. We never get credit for that. We had to meet 50% diversion, I forgot what year, 2001. We actually met our diversion goals. Most cities needed to get a pass. They could not meet it, so they had to get an extension. We met it because we did planning, and some people may agree or disagree. It costs more to do the system. We do, but we tried to be on the forefront because those other cities, which Forrest is talking about, and we respectfully disagree, Forrest, sometimes. I've known you for many years, sir. Their rates are going to be going up a lot higher because all their trash, or a lot more of their trash, is going to be taken out by the rail system, which is extremely expensive. It's much cheaper to dump in a local landfill, and if you're going to take it on the rail, obviously you want to take less as possible on that to lower our rate. So that's some of the difference on that one system. Steve mentioned what they're doing in Covina. I think the new park they're doing in Covina and how they're doing it, we can all say you may disagree or agree with it. They are building lofts there or homes there, outlining the new park, but I think the park they're getting, and you know, that's I think where there could have been more working with everyone, is how maybe we can make the Civic Center whole area to be complementary to everything that's being done, like they worked out with everyone in Covina. And I believe now they have a place for the movies in the park now have been created there. They have a band shell there. They have a little area for the horses that they have on Fridays for their farmers market. They have a lot of benches and stuff, and I think that's what we lack here. And I think that was more the thing to complement the library, was to have more places that you could create unique spots to enhance the experience. And we may, again, you know, I've known Irene and Beverly, you guys are the diehards for the library. But I mean, to me, I think there's a lot of other things that could have been done and still can be done to enhance the experience over there. Like we said, in the end, and this thing's been going on for a number of years, as we have shown since 1995, there's been talk about developing it. If you see our promotion brochures, just like if you go to Giambi Way in Azusa right now, at the bottom of Big League Dreams, there's a giant placard asking for people to make offers on the property. That's been there for 3 years. We have packets that we give out to our, you know, to different people's perspectives. All the different properties. We've had those in our promotional materials for years. It is not new. Whether, again, we all agree or disagree, Beverly and Irene happened to speak back when this project was going forward in 2005 and 2006. And that was when there was a 6-story office building with 4 stories underground that was proposed there. And like I said then, we voted it down that it was too large. One council member, who's our state assembly member now, voted against denying the project and wanted us to continue working with Henry Melendez of Dynamic Investments. Those are facts. That was done at the February 21st, 2006 council meeting. Those issues were there. 2007, in March, we had Maine and Maine come to develop directly in front of where you're sitting if you look straight out, and that was with a P.F. Chang's and another restaurant. We were working on that. They want to come in these type of areas, and they want, you know, employment. And a lot of those restaurants are looking at us, and they did look at this for a number of years. Back in 1995, that's when we were proposing, you know, when we were working with the library. It's amazing the difference in this whole relationship, because the library was going to get the revenue, 100% of the rental income, so they were supportive of it.
Housing.
And not everyone came here and spoke against it. That was the difference. It was going to be a Kinko's, a Starbucks, and another retail building, and that was going to be in what is the county property east of the library. And again, no one came here and spoke against it because the library was getting the revenue, and that we were trying to find out how to stabilize the library as they're being cut. As is, the library is closed 3 days a week. They don't open till 10, and they close at 8. They're closed Monday, Fridays, and Sundays, and that's just factual. They're open 8 to 6 on Saturdays, and I fought this city for closing on Fridays. I'm not a favor of that. I actually tried to expand servicing to Saturday, because you need to have these type of services and agencies open when the public is not at work. To have it only open when most working people couldn't use it, to me, is fruitless. It's great for the employees, not necessarily good for the people that use it. Now, we can all disagree on all the different items. Some of you people, you know, that are out in the audience, I've known for many times. Bruce's question, and I disagree, that some of you are newer and I haven't seen before at this council chambers. I don't believe that makes you any less of a citizen. It was said that since these people are more active, their vote counts differently, or their opinion counts differently. I frankly disagree. We have 110,000 residents in our city, and all their votes, whether they choose to come down here or not, count equally. And we may respectfully disagree on that, but I don't think we should have that some people may not have the ability or the access to get here, and therefore they don't count in the system. I don't believe that's necessarily what Bruce meant by his comments, but you could take that from the comments that were stated, that a lot of you are more involved and have been here more often, therefore it's different. And roughly the count was 27 that were for were West Covina residents, and 38 that were against it were West Covina residents. Now, there was a difference on whether they were newer residents. There's no question. I'll surrender that the people that were against it were to the 30 to 50-year resident, and the people that were for it were newer residents. There's no question, or people that just bought into the community. That was legit too. And I don't know if we should only count people that have lived here 30-plus years. I don't think that's fair either, because they're taxpayers too, no matter what. But thank you for everyone's comments. I've known Carolyn. I know Carolyn's not here right now. Carolyn Arndt. I served on the food bank with her for many, many different years. And when we met all over trying to solve problems, and she did come before here when we used to get community development block grant money, which that's being cut down tremendously after tonight in the future too. So thank you very much for everyone coming. And we move on to the consent calendar. Is there any items a council member would like to pull off the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item 10.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item 2.
Okay, we have item 2 and item 10 pulled off. Can we have a motion for, hold on,
I'll so move the consent.
all the other items?
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Those pass 401. Item number 2 is the first item pulled off by Councilmember Sanderson. Do you want to do a separate vote on that?
Yes, sir.
No problem. Do we have a motion for item number 2?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay. That's 311. Item number 10.
Mr. Mayor, I cannot support this. I think we don't have an intersection in the city that should have 3 left turn lanes in each north and south direction. I think this is going to cause a lot of accidents. I support changes to the intersection, such as longer entries to the 2-turn area, but I think 3 lanes turning on north and south on Azusa Avenue will cause accidents. I've seen it in Orange County in some intersections that are considerably larger, but I just can't support it. So I will not support that tonight.
No problem. Do I have a motion on number 10?
So moved.
I'll second it.
for the vote.
Okay, I'll just make comments. I understand Councilmember Herford's concerns. We need to make improvements at Azusa Amar. I understand this is one of those things, again, no matter what you do, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because the first time there's an accident, they're going to say, I told you so. We're trying to make right-hand turn movements easier, too, by widening those streets and making more left-hand turn lanes. If you're going south on Azusa to make a left onto Amar, it is a weave after the 2 lanes back up. They back up into the through traffic lane, and then you have to swerve around them. We've tried to put in bus pad turnouts to get the buses out of the lanes, too. That's some of the problems we have down there, too, but we're trying to do all that. And like I said, anyone who votes either way can be correct. It just matters how it is. These are some of the great things in city government. But I have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Yahtzee, is there a way that maybe we could hear back on the, I mean, what I'm understanding, though, is that there's an issue with funds. Could you briefly explain that?
There could be an issue with some of the funds if the project is not completed. There was a $1 million federal grant that was awarded to the city. We've spent about $330,000 of that. That would have to be returned if the project is not completed. However, there is a staff report. In your staff report, there's an option 2 that will go ahead, use the federal funds. It will widen the intersection. It will add the right turn lanes, but it will keep 2 left turn lanes for southbound and northbound traffic, which would take care of some of the concerns about having the 3 left turn lanes.
Right. Okay. And I mean, I guess if we go forward with 3 left, would we be able to get reports on how that's working, or, I mean...
Yeah, if we did go through with the 3 left lanes and do the widening, If there were problems with accidents, it would be a matter of restriping it to go back to 2 lanes. You would still have the additional width, and you could go back to the option 2, which included the widening and the additional right turn lanes and the other additional east and westbound lanes.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
No problem. In the right-hand
Mr. Mayor.
turn lane, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to point out also when you asked about the question of funds that I think it's important to also point out that this is where you get the benefit of redevelopment, because as you well aware, we also match redevelopment funds into this, and that's almost $426,000 that were injected into here, as well as the developer contributions as a result of development at the BKK landfill. The developer contributed over $700,000 for those intersection improvements as well.
Which I've raised the concern before, when you charge an impact fee and you don't spend the money on the impact that you identified for charging the impact fee, that money may be returned or may have to be legally returned to the developer. So I have concerns. I'd rather spend the money and make the safety enhancements. And again, I can understand anyone's understanding. I understand left-hand turn lanes with 3 of them are different, but I think we need to do something there. That is a level 5. It's one of the worst rated intersections in Los Angeles County, and I think anything we do there, and I believe on both scenarios, we're only getting it up to D or something. I know we're still not passing no matter what we do there, but I would like to see the improvements done so we don't lose the money or get challenged by the developer who paid the impact fee.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of option 1, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye, or no?
Is that no, sir?
That was a no.
3-1. Thank you. We drop down to the public hearing on number 11. I have 1 speaker card, Joanne Wilner, on that. This matter set for public hearing, the consideration of the proposed amendments to the fiscal year 2011 through 2012 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. Will the city clerk verify the proper legal notice has been given?
Yes, that's verified.
At this time, I shall open the public hearing on the proposed amendments to fiscal year 2011 through 2012 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. There will first be the presentation of the staff report. Then we shall hear comments from the public. Mr. Pasmat, who will present the staff report?
Mr. McDonald will do that report.
Thank you. Kelly?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, this report concerns the proposed amendments to the 2011-2012 CDBG Action Plan. The city receives an annual grant of federal CDBG funds from the U.S. Department of Housing. Is that close? All right. Got to lose some weight here. City receives an annual grant of federal CDBG funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And in order to receive the grant, the city is required to prepare an annual action plan which details how the funds will be spent in the respective year to further its community development goals. The 11-12 action plan was approved by the City Council in May of 2011. However, an action plan may be amended at any time. At the City Council meeting on June 21st, 2011, staff presented options for projects to be funded by $780,000 in CDBG funds. This amount included the balance of the city's line of credit with HUD, as well as $150,000 in a project that was approved in 2008 for the installation of an elevator in the police department. As part of this report, staff is recommending that the cancellation of the elevator project and reprogramming the $150,000. At this June meeting, staff was directed to conduct community meetings relative to improvements at Del Norte and Palmview Parks. These are the 2 CDBG eligible parks in the city. And subsequent to those meetings, report back to the City Council. Staff retained the firm of David Volt's Design to facilitate community meetings and prepare summary reports. The Del Norte meeting was held on August 10th, 2011. The Palmview Park meeting was held on August 17th. Attachments number 1 and 2 are tables prepared by staff to summarize the responses at the park meetings that are detailed in the reports prepared by the consultant. The full reports for the Del Norte and Palmview meetings are included as attachments 3 and 4 respectively. Now, based on the community input at the meetings, the limited resources, and the ability to complete the proposed project, staff recommends the following 3 amendments that are detailed in the staff report, amendments to the 2011-2012 CDBG action plan. First is to cancel the police elevator project and reprogram the $150,000. Second is to modify funding for the existing Palmview Park play equipment project by an additional $400,000, bringing the total budget to $560,000. Number 3 is to add a splash pad project at Del Norte Park and funding in the amount of $380,000. The process for such amendments requires a 30-day public comment period, a public hearing, and approval by the City Council. The comment period began on December 16th, and staff received 1 comment from an attendee of the Del Norte Park meeting. Gentleman phoned in and just stated his preference for additional parking versus a splash pad. There is sufficient CDBG funds to cover the proposed amendments, and there is no general fund impact resulting from the report. Therefore, staff recommends the City Council approve the proposed amendments to the 2011-2012 CDBG action plan as detailed in the report, and authorize appropriations as necessary to implement the amendments. That concludes my staff report, and I'll be happy to answer questions.
Does council have any questions? Councilmember Herford.
Yes, CDBG money is restricted money, can only be used for certain things. Is there any way this money could, in any form, fashion, or manner, be used for public safety, city staff? Does it have to be used for capital improvements?
No, it doesn't. Public safety, in our circumstance, no. We do fund a portion of the domestic violence victim advocate who works out of the police department. We have done things with public safety. We do have a project on the boards. No, I guess I'm incorrect. I'm thinking staffing of public safety, but we would be able, we've purchased a fire engine in the past. We have a project that was approved to renovate Station 3. That fire district does lay in an area that's considered CDBG eligible, and improvements to a fire station is an eligible activity.
But Kelly, my question is, does it have to be used on capital, or can you use it for personnel? It sounded like you could use it for personnel from what you said.
Well, we have, depending upon the projects, we have public services that are administered by staff, and we do charge some staff time. We charge some of the staff time to administer the grant. So
I think generally
administrative fee, yeah.
I think that's the extent of it, just the administrative fee to implement these projects, but I believe this particular source of funds for this project, Kelly, isn't it program income that we're going to?
No, it's unspent obligations, as well as the money from the police elevator. So we would be charging some staff time, the project staff time, to carry out the projects, the public works supervisor, the direct costs of doing the bid and overseeing the project administration. That would be charged directly to the
Let me ask it this way. If we didn't do the project, what would happen with the money?
We'd come back with other eligible activities and propose those. It would sit in the fund balance until that money is obligated.
Right. You said activities, so I assume that's not a capital expenditure then.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Kelly, don't we have 2 different portions? One's for social programming, and then one's for capital type programming. And social programming was some of the things like the food bank, and we still have food banks that get money, but they get some of that social type of money. our assistance for people in baseball, or not necessarily baseball, anything they may want to do. I forgot what it's called, youth participation.
Right.
We have meals programs.
Yes, we have a couple of areas of eligibility that are capped, capped on an annual basis that we're not able to roll over. So this money we wouldn't be able to roll over into administration. We would not be able to roll it over into a public service type of thing. We could use it for a variety of other projects.
Because we've reached our cap.
Yes, we annually budget to those caps.
And those caps, even the caps that are the amount of money we receive now is being cut as of next year, or we're receiving a cut to our whole community development block grant program, which may result in less social service programs that we can even offer all the different entities that come before us?
That's correct. We received a notification recently that based on the new formula, our allocation's down about 17-18%, $200,000.
From the federal government, we received
Correct.
the notice. Thank you. Okay, at this time, if there's no other comments, is there anyone present wishing to speak on this item? I only have one card, and it's neutral. So can that neutral member please come forward, Joanne Wilner?
Joanne Wilner, neutral. West Covina resident for decades and decades and decades. I just read the information, and I just basically have some questions regarding the item. What is a splash pad that costs $380,000? That sounds like a very expensive kind of improvement. A pad to me is something you're just throwing water on and you slide all over it. It doesn't sound like any big number of dollars. The other thing is, how do handicapped individuals now get up and down in the police department that an elevator is not needed? What are they doing up till now, and why would that not be a good project? And it just seems like that splash pad is the most expensive item there that needs a little explanation or review as to a possible alternative.
No problem. Staff? That is the only speaker I have, so hold on. If there's no one else wishing to speak on this item, I shall now close the public testimony portion of the hearing and direct that over to staff if they can answer that one question or the couple questions she raised. I understand what a splash pad is. It's like it's all ADA accessible water park, so they can roll out onto it. It's that rubberized surface, and the water drains back through it. It's a newer type of thing when you can't afford a monthly operation of a pool, but if staff can answer some direct questions.
We'll call forward Lindell Morgan to talk a little bit about the splash pad program.
Thank you. Good evening. The splash pad, as the mayor was describing, there's a lot of different types of those, different sizes, but the bulk of the cost is, I feel like I have my back to you folks, I'm sorry. The bulk of the cost is in the equipment, and that is because of the restrictions, and when you recirculate the water, it's just like operating a pool. Even though you see there isn't any water that's standing or staying, but that water must come up, and so therefore as it's coming up, kids will touch it, drink it. So all of the maintenance for that and the structures and the equipment is very similar to the pool. So it's pretty extensive. It's about 2/3 of the cost. And so once you're going to do one, you might as well do one if you're going to pay for the equipment. So I hope that answers your question. Any other questions?
Thank you. I believe there was a question on the elevator.
I'm sorry, I missed that. The need for it?
I believe, I don't know if the chief would be the best one or if he even wants to dig in this. I don't blame if you want to stay up there. And in case there's any problems, Joanne Wilner asked the question.
The question, I believe, is how does a handicapped person get, if there's no elevator in a police station, get from one level to the other? The police department has 2 levels to it. The first level is where all the public business is conducted. The bottom level is a jail and office space, and there's no need for the public to be down there. But in that rare instance where it is necessary, the parking lot is accessed from both levels. So even though it's a 2-level station, you can access it from the parking lot at either level 1 of the police department or level 2. So it's a very simple process and not an inconvenience really at all.
No problem. Thank you, Chief. Is there any other questions, or if not, do I have, oh, sorry, Chris Freeland.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Herbert, we wanted to have an opportunity to maybe expand a little bit more on your question. Specifically, the question was the program monies that we're looking to reprogram. A portion may be able to be qualified for some of the costs maybe that we're looking at with this shortfall with our budget right now, but the majority of the costs would not be eligible. We would have to use it for the actual project cost itself. There would be some administrative or associated costs that may be able to be reimbursed as far as like staff time or whatnot. So it would not be able to utilize the entire bunch of funds to offset our deficit or that of funding of people.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do I have any motions or?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second. Moved and seconded. Is there any other comments? I just want to say one thing. This is one of the unique things we, no matter what we sometimes do, and I know Phil Marino, who has mentioned before, and Lloyd Johnson, neither one, well, Phil's still here, about doing projects on the north side. Oh, there's Lloyd, I'm sorry. I seen the hat, sir. On the north side, I mean, this is one of those eligible census tract projects, and we are doing park improvements there. And even when you have a meeting out there, when you get 30 residents together, they all agreed to all disagree with each other on what was important or what worked. You just kind of have to go based on the groupings and what was the most palatable. But no matter what, it's hard to get total agreement or even a 50-50, 60-40 agreement out there on stuff. So I have a motion and a second on the amendment to the fiscal year 2011-2012 Community Development Block Grant money. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 401. We drop down to the city manager's office, annual appointments of city council representatives and other agencies. This is the mayor's prerogative, how it's always been done. I got different input from different council members. On the City Schools Liaison Committee, I am appointing Fred Sykes and Mike Toohey to serve on that committee. On Foothill Transit, it is Toohey as a representative, Sanderson as the alternate. On Hearst Ranch, it is Herford as the representative. Well, they're both equal, Herford and Lane. On LA Works, it's Sanderson, Herford. LA City Selection Committee, it's automatically always the mayor by county. San Gabriel Valley COG, it's Herford as a representative, Sykes as the alternate. Mosquito Abatement District, it's already been appointed before, it's Sanderson, and they do not allow an alternate. The Sanitation District, it is the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem. Normally, it's Toohey, Lane. And then on the SCAG, the Southern California Association of Government, it is Sykes as a representative and Lane as the alternate. Can I have a motion to ratify that?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 302.
Mr. Mayor, there's a resolution that needs to be adopted with that one.
I knew that. I don't have that. Oh, I do. Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
And we don't need to read the resolutions anymore, correct? Under the,
We can go ahead and do that. That's Resolution 0129, a resolution of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, naming, this was for the COG, that'd be Steve Herford as the Governing Board Representative to the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, and Fred Sykes as the alternate.
Yes. Okay, I have a motion and a second on it.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 302. Sorry, let me. Item number 13, the impact of ABX 126 to the City and Community Development Commission. Mr. City Manager, who will present that report?
I'll go ahead and address this report, Mr. Mayor. First of all, this report's to give you a summary of what the impacts are as a result of the Supreme Court decision that now eliminates redevelopment as part of the state legislation. But first of all, I think it's important for the public to realize that this has been a tremendous benefit for communities throughout the state of California. Over 400 different agencies exist throughout the state, and all have been very active in creating economic development, creating jobs, construction and permanent jobs, as well as attracting investment into the state. I can tell you, in my 35 years of experience in redevelopment, we have to compete aggressively with other states in the nation. Remember having to compete with Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma in terms of a lot of the incentives those particular states offer to attract and steal the businesses away from California, and that will give California a tremendous disadvantage now of not having this tool here. But I think those results will be more evident and probably over the next decade as you see that ripple effect that this will have. As stated in the report, the court ruling will not only have an impact to our economic development efforts, but also a very significant impact to other critical city services. So it isn't just the redevelopment agency that's impacted by this, it's also city services all the way from public safety to cleaning the parks. And in the report you see that there are many areas that are addressed, but the three significant impacts to our city is one, dealing with the city agency loan agreements. Over the years since the agency was formed in 1971, there have been various loans given by the city to the redevelopment agency to stimulate development here in this community. These are not necessarily the tax increment dollars that are referenced in the legislation. They are local dollars that are generated locally through sales tax that have been contributed to these projects, such as the Westfield Mall, in order to help that project expand, including some of the parking structures that were constructed around the city. The concern we have, even though the Supreme Court did not rule specifically on point with these agreements, is that the legislation, the way it was drafted, attempts to invalidate these loan agreements between the city and the agency, effectively impairing a contract which is going to probably raise a number of legal issues and challenges in the state. A number of cities are already working on challenges to address that in Sacramento. There's a hearing that's occurring January 27th in Superior Court in Sacramento to address these applied provisions of the law. By invalidating our loans, we have at stake approximately $21.5 million that have been effectively invalidated by the legislature, again, of local dollars, not tax increment dollars. And I kind of want to distinguish on that because there is a significant point there. Again, these could be sales tax dollars, our own gas tax dollars that are here. These are not necessarily deferred dollars. And so we think that is extremely unfair of what they've done here, because they did this in a void. They didn't really understand the implications of it, and even the legislature is having to grapple with the fact that the Supreme Court ruled that AB 26 was valid, but ruled that AB 27, which was another companion bill, was invalid, which was obviously the worst case for us. And now Sacramento will have to scramble to try to provide specific guidance on how we are to administer this dismantling of the redevelopment agency statewide. Again, for our impact, not only is the monies that were in our reserve at stake, but we also have reimbursement agreements between the redevelopment agency and Westfield Mall, where we pay for bonds to the tune of about $1 million at stake, as well as because we are going to have to determine whether or not this is impacted by that invalidation measure. So that directly impacts the general fund reserves and our cash flow. And in total, in the report, you see when you add those particular impacts along with the other impacts, you're looking at almost $4.8 million being added right to the deficit of whatever we started with at the beginning of this year, which was $1.9 million, plus all the other costs. Economically, over the last 12 years, as the report addresses, we've created thousands of jobs, construction jobs as well, but more importantly, it's been our economic development engine to bring in new sales tax dollars into the city. In order to keep our tax rates low in the city, we've been able to attract this new investment, which gave us new sales taxes that was used to help pay for the critical public services, including public safety. What we will not be able to do any longer is also the issue of affordable housing. We've developed over 1,000 new units of affordable housing, many of which are for first-time home buyers. We've also provided subsidies for senior citizens, and we wrote down the rents for 99 years on many of these projects, so that those type of projects will no longer be available to this city and other cities statewide. We also know, maybe the community doesn't realize, that through redevelopment we were able to avoid having the BKK landfill go Superfund, which would have had a significant detrimental impact to the community and market values in the city to have that stigma hanging over the city. Through the CDC, we're able to help provide funding to properly close that landfill and generate enough money to ensure that there were maintenance funds for a number of years into the future to keep that landfill serviced. Because part of our concern, as the council would remember, is if this goes Superfund, we go into a number of litigations statewide of anyone that dumped into the landfills and trying to find money to properly maintain it. And this landfill wouldn't be where it is now in terms of being closed properly. We would have had a lot more legal problems that would have occurred without redevelopment. You also have in your packet an attachment from the Contra Costa Times that also addresses what the fallacy is about how much money is going to flow to school districts, which is what I've contended, that it'll be very nominal, because most of the funds are actually going to backfill the state general fund, and I don't expect many dollars to flow back to this city. They'll probably flow to operational costs at the state level. That concludes my report, unless you have any specific questions.
Does council have any specific questions? Some of the things you mentioned, Andy, and you didn't talk about, we've given low interest or zero interest improvement loans to many seniors and other residents who needed to fix up their homes. There was 2,141 loans given over our time. A lot of those funds are still out there. There was 142 homes where we did down payment assistance. I think the impact, I don't think people always understand, and when we've ever done an affordable senior housing project, most people, again, they'll come out here and speak against the senior housing project till they find the income levels are normally similar to what those people that are speaking against actually make. It is shocking sometimes to find out a lot of our seniors that live in our community qualify for an affordable housing type of place to live, and it's really workforce housing for people that are the box boys and cashiers in our community that may not always make enough, that they need some of these different assistance. You mentioned the landfill, and again, people don't understand the trash issue wholly. Cities are responsible for your trash forever. The trash we dump anywhere, we're 100% liable for in perpetuity. Likewise, anyone who's ever dumped trash at BKK is 100% liable for in perpetuity. That is our trash if our community generated it. And those numbers can be staggering, as it was in Monterey Park for that landfill, which went Superfund and created millions upon millions of dollars in liability. And all of our cities around us and us ourselves are liable for millions upon millions of dollars, far more than we have in financial wherewithal. What Andy talked about is this city council made a loan to finish the insurance bond when BKK left, that if we made the final payment on it, it secured millions upon millions of dollars in insurance policy money that we could use to protect this city, and it was what was the saving grace of a lot of things by the city doing that. And we had that discussion in closed session tonight on a tolling agreement we did. But I think there's a lot of ways sometimes people don't realize the impacts of redevelopment. It's 1/3 or 40% of the cost of graffiti. It's around 50% cost of our community enhancement officer. And you just, I don't think you can just slice the body in half. The person still expects to get paid, but there is no funding sources anymore. I know it's the Discover West Covina letter. Some people aren't always liking the West Covina letter. Everyone has their own opinions of the different ways we communicate, but that's some of it. And I just think, like I said, I think there's a lot more cost that people will fully understand on the heels of the court decision where they were able to take all the redevelopment money, proceeds, and potential property. They announced at the same time, even though they're taking all those revenues, $4.8 billion in cuts against schools. So you see, it was just misleading to say the money was for the schools. They're still taking a $5 billion hit, and that is the truth. They're taking the money. Our city has around 13% less employees over the last 4 years than we had, and we're going to end up probably, unfortunately, having another 12 to 15, 20% less than we have. State employees, their actual employment roles have grown during this time when everyone else is cutting. Federal government employment has grown while everyone else is cutting. And I understand, as you've heard tonight, some people do not like us, disagree with us, like the local level, but at least you get to speak to the local level. You rarely ever get to have one-on-one meetings, and they don't allow oral communications at the state legislature. You're never allowed to talk to them. You can talk after they're done having their thing and they leave their state legislature. They do not open it up for oral communications. They'd have a war up there if they ever did. But there are a lot of impacts, and you're going to see it, whether good, bad, or indifferent. Like I said, and they mentioned doing the recall, City of Bell, which we know a lot of those new people, even though they've recalled and put 5 new people, and they're absolutely furious over there because the problems financially don't go away. You can keep on rotating all the seats up here. Okay? You either have $1 or you don't have $1. So you can just change the cards. You still got no money. And there's going to be cuts coming no matter what. And this impact we have across this community will hit. We've tried to protect, and again, people ridiculed us. Yeah, we have run deficits to protect as much public safety and as much personnel as possible. If that's a negative, keeping more officers for you and more firefighters, recall us. There's no question we did that. It's easy to remove everybody and make sure when your phone rings, no one comes. That may be a better way. It's a different way to service government. If that is a mistake we made for protecting as many public safety personnel and protecting as many services as possible, this council's guilty. We'll just like to see the people talking who they're cutting or firing. Which officer are you firing? Which city employee are you laying off? Because it's all a matter of dollars. Now, everyone, again, it's easy talking on that side, but it's going to be bloody here. And it's not peaceful or good. I mean, a lot of things happen during this type of time, and I feel sorry for all of our good employees we've had for many years. We've done it always through attrition and vacancies. There are no more there are no more positions where we can just keep on doing it on vacancies. There's real people that are losing their jobs, that have houses to pay for, that have kids in schools, that have car payments, that are just trying to survive. And they may lose their job. That's reality. And again, it's easy to act like 5 new council members or 4 new council members and poof, there's $50 million. Good luck. Do I have a
Motion. I'll make the motion to approve. Receive and file.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 401. Designating the Community Development Commission as a housing successor agency. Mr. City Manager?
I'm going to refer this to Mr. Lee. Are you here? Okay. He's going to address this, and we think this is an avenue the council ought to strongly consider approving because, again, it holds on to a few more dollars, precious dollars back into the city, for the city.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you for your consideration tonight is adoption of resolutions and ordinances designating the Community Development Commission as the housing successor agency. As a result of AB 26, on February 1st, 2012, all redevelopment agencies are dissolved and that all the properties and obligations will be transferred to a successor agency. Now, the West Covina City Council on January 10th, 2012, adopted the resolutions to serve as the successor agency. Now, the successor agency is entitled to an annual administrative cost of up to 5% of the property tax allocated for fiscal year 2011 and 2012, and up to a maximum of 3% for each succeeding fiscal year. Now, under AB 26, it also gives the option that the city or a local housing authority could serve as the successor housing agency. Now, while the city can serve as the successor housing agency, the city attorney's office is of the opinion that the housing program revenues that currently the CDC receive may be subject to the administrative cost allowance threshold set forth by AB 26 and advised that a separate entity such as the CDC to serve as the successor housing agency to receive those program revenues. Now, in fiscal year 2010-2011, the CDC received approximately $517,000 in housing program revenues. Now, these program revenues are derived from over 2,000 home improvement loans and first-time home buyer loans that have become due and or the repayments of the mortgage, as well as some of the revenue sharing agreements of previous housing agreements that the regional agency / CDC has entered into. Now, these program revenues and revenue sharing payments may be utilized to pay for ongoing administrative expenses necessary to monitor and administer these loans, as well as to administer the various housing agreements to ensure that they have in compliance with affordability covenants set forth in the agreements and also HCD guidelines. Now, should the City Council concur with the recommendation to have the CDC retain the housing function, the City Attorney's Office is recommending adoption of said resolution and ordinances to form the City of West Covina Housing Authority to be administered by the CDC in compliance with the Community Development Law and AB 26. Now, due to the pending deadline of February 1st of 2012 for the dissolution of all redevelopment agencies, an urgency ordinance is recommended at this time. And in order to pass this urgency ordinance, a supermajority affirmative vote of the council is required. This concludes staff's presentation. Here to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Mayor, also I'd like to just add, there's a number of aspects of this legislation that, again, is unanswered. And part of the problem that we anticipate with the housing portion is that there are no provisions for what happens with the forgivable loans that we have on some of the first-time homebuyer programs, some of the low-interest loans that we continue to collect money on. They didn't project how to deal with that into the future. And as you might recall, we've had an issue at one of the senior housing complexes in the city where there had been a complaint about noncompliance of some of the covenants, and we ended up spending almost a year trying to correct that problem. There is no provision in the law for dealing with those issues right now. I mean, in the end, we may want to just turn over the keys to the state and say, here, they're your problems, but right now we're saying this is a way to at least hold on to some money to offset some of those costs.
And I believe that's what the City of Los Angeles did?
Yes, sir. That's there was an article in the paper about laying off 190 employees, but that really isn't the facts on the case. I mean, they basically did not want to create the successor agency, and they were just turning over all the files over to whoever may be the successor.
So Los Angeles didn't become the successor agency,
and the county doesn't want
it. The county said no, thank you. They don't want to touch it. So there's 190 employees in that city in limbo, have nowhere. I mean, this is happening, and some of the money we're owed, so people understand, and I know you guys don't always get all the information all at one time. We're owed $10.5 million that we've won in court judgments against different Al-Hassan entities. And it is tremendous trying to collect those monies the way they are in different entities. But we have prevailed in court, and $10.5 million of your taxpayers' money in different entities are owed to this city. And those are some of the monies the city had to loan to fight the different entities. And again, there's a variety of different entities that are in there. A lot of the different properties are in bankruptcy, as you see, whether it's the Wells Fargo Bank building, Stater Brothers Shopping Center at Azusa Workman, and a lot of the auto dealerships that are in our city that are American-made auto dealers, or they're totally vacant. It is a different and very difficult task to go after that. The property taxes are not being paid in a case, and a lot of those properties, they're being, payments are being made, making up in arrears for the 5 years they haven't paid. And we still have to provide services even though we're not collecting any money. And a lot of the state agencies are paying rent to the developer. And then the developer is not paying the taxing agency. So like Assemblyman Roger Hernandez, his office is inside the building. They pay rent to the developer, but the money doesn't flow through us as a creditor. The other creditor, or the Los Angeles County taxing agency, or the school districts that are lined up to get their share of the money. So I just think it's a lot easier said than done sometimes, the complexity of what we're having to deal with what is happening in redevelopment, and are we supposed to go after that debt now, or is it the state of California's debt to try to collect? So,
Mr. Mayor, just one comment. The city attorney's office has reviewed this legislation quite extensively, and in terms of what they call the former housing functions of the redevelopment agency, we think the action here tonight puts you in the best position to manage the assets, the housing functions, and so forth, because of some of the quirks in AB 26. So we do recommend that you proceed with the actions tonight. After you've had your discussions also, I will suggest the various motions as we go through this, since we have different types of resolutions and ordinances.
thank you. Any other council member comments? Okay, do I have a motion on this?
Their first motion simply is going to be to adopt resolution. Do we have a number?
That's resolution number 201210, a resolution of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, declaring the need for a housing authority to function within the City of West Covina.
Motion to approve, adopt.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 401.
Okay, on number 2, the motion here is going to be to read by title by first time and waive further reading and introduce the ordinance.
That's ordinance number 2226, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, declaring the need for the Community Development Commission in the City of West Covina to function as the City of West Covina Housing Authority, and transferring all duties, powers, and responsibilities of the West Covina Housing Authority to the Community Development Commission, and declaring this ordinance to be an urgency ordinance.
Motion to approve and introduce.
Second.
Moved in second. Roll call, please.
Herford?
Aye.
Lane? Aye. Sanderson?
Aye.
Tui.
Tui?
Passes 401.
And then on that same item, number 2, you need a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Moved in second. Roll call, please.
Herford?
Aye.
Lane? Aye. Sanderson?
Aye.
Tui?
Aye. Passes 401.
On number 3.
Reading of the resolution, please. Correct?
Yes, need a resolution
did-
number?
No, it was.
On
I did
number-
read.
on number
well,
2, it's
number
already been
2,
read.
I did read that.
We're down to number 3 now.
I thought we just did number 3, too.
No,
Yeah, those are two separate items.
they're two separate ordinances. One is an urgency ordinance, one is a regular ordinance. I don't know if you've done this before or not, but it's a backup system. If the urgency ordinance is challenged, then the regular ordinance will still be effective. So on number 3, the first motion will be to read by title only and waive further reading and introduce.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
I'll read the title for that ordinance.
Let them vote first.
Okay.
Go ahead and take the vote.
Can I have a vote, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
Or
Aye.
roll call is required again?
No. Voice vote's sufficient.
That's what it says, but okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 401.
Okay, go ahead and read the
And
ordinance.
that ordinance is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, declaring the need for the Community Development Commission in the City of West Covina to function as the City of West Covina Housing Authority and transferring all duties, powers, and responsibilities of the West Covina Housing Authority to the Community Development Commission.
Okay, that takes care of item number 3. Number 4, you just need to adopt the resolution.
Heading the resolution, please.
Resolution 201211, a resolution of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, electing to transfer housing functions to the local housing authority pursuant to Part 1.85 of Division 24 of the California Health and Safety Code.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
401. Okay, we go to item number 15, urgency ordinance establishing a moratorium to prohibit the construction of residential structures on 74 vacant properties in South Hills subdivision to the study development standards.
Mr. Mayor, considering I received some information I didn't have with regards to this, I will abstain from the project tonight.
And likewise, we were served as we were, or they served when we were upstairs, a letter that we have to have our city attorney resolve. You don't have to leave the room, Steve. I will have to abstain too till we get a legal ruling from the different entities, and because of that, there's not a quorum left to host the meeting or to talk about that item. So I guess we will go ahead and drop item 15 right now.
We can continue that to the next meeting.
Do I have a motion to continue? Well, we can't participate again, so I don't know. You still don't have enough votes.
Staff will just put this on the next agenda.
That's up to you. I can't participate. Okay. Drop down. We're done with 15. We drop down to mayor, council members, commissions, reports. Is there any reports anyone would like to file? AB 1234 conference and meeting reports. Is there anyone wishing to give? Seeing none, we'll drop down to City Council, Community Development Commission request for reports, studies, and investigations. Councilmember Herford, you have the item on the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, 401. That will bring the item back to our next council meeting, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. We do have one.
And it's just for cost savings. It's not firing everybody, right?
No, it's essentially with regards to the budget situation.
Okay, I
We're going
just
to
want
have.
to make that clear, because obviously people come up and they were firing everybody, so.
Yeah.
The one other thing before we do the adjournment again, we got a letter in Rancho Cucamonga. The Fire Protection District was acknowledging and congratulating our Fire Chief Paul Segallo for getting involved in another incident where there were 3 pedestrians hurt, and Paul was able to give some more services to the people. And I don't know if the city would like to elaborate. I don't know if you know our chief. We had someone who, without mentioning their name, basically collapsed and had passed here in our council chambers. And our 2 police chiefs went and got our automatic defibrillator and administered life-saving defibrillation and treatment to them, and was able to bring back the person who was here at the last meeting. Wasn't supporting us. That's America. But it was amazing what those devices help that we've put in all of our city facilities, automatic defibrillators. But not only did Paul do a great job there waiting for the response from the fire department, our actual administrators should put their duties, what they teach everyone else, into action and play. And apparently our fire chief did it again out in Rancho Cucamonga. If Andy could elaborate a little bit more on what our chief did as a private citizen, this scene an accident.
Yeah, he's not even aware I was going to bring this to the council's attention tonight. Are you here, Paul? I'm not even sure if you are. Yes.
That away, Paul.
No, I received a letter from the city manager and the fire chief in Rancho Cucamonga that indicated that, let me just read, I want to thank and acknowledge Fire Chief Paul Segala for his efforts at a recent incident in our community. And the following report came from one of our responders. On November 26, 2011, Rancho Cucamonga Fire District responded to an auto versus 3 pedestrian incident. Upon our arrival, off-duty Fire Chief Paul Segala was gloved up and attending to the female patient. He had initiated someone holding a C-spine and gave an initial assessment of injuries and a great description of the incident. And then it goes on to read that as a result of his assistance, they were able to treat the patient, and they were applauding Chief Segala's preparation, since he had his own medical gear that he was using, including an oxygen bottle and a mask. And I think this just falls in line with the recent story that you're well aware of about our police department also saving the life of a young child here in the community. And I think that just shows the character of the of our departments here in West Covina and what they do on and off duty.
And
So I wanted to share that with you.
Be bringing those police officers to our meeting to recognize them publicly for their life-saving efforts. And once again, to you, Paul, a double thing. You keep on doing it, so congratulations to you too, Chief. I don't have any other, unless there's any other adjournments, we have one. Our fire captain, Greg Layton, lost his oldest son, Russell Layton, and if we can adjourn the meeting in memory of Russell Layton, son of Fire Chief, or Fire Captain Greg Layton, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Layton family as they deal with this tragedy.
So moved.
Second. Moved and second. All those in favor say aye. 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 We're adjourned.